Alex Belfield.
Now, I don't know whether you remember what I said to you the last time you came into my radio show, but I said that you'd be going to Broadway, and you laughed at me. You knew all along, didn't you, really?
Oh, no. I know for a fact while I was still in the show in London, they told me that they were auditioning for every single part here. And myself and Scarlett, who is playing Mary Poppins in London at the moment, and I played it with her in the second year of the show, we were the benchmarks. And they kind of said, if we find someone better, then we'll take them, and if we don't, then you'll come to do it. And I had to agree that was, why would you not take someone, the best person you can get? So I was just the really lucky one person out of the London cast that they made a phone call and said, no, we want you to come and open it here. And so it was a dream come true. So no, I didn't know. I had my fingers crossed. But it was really until the last day of auditions here on Broadway, they still had another guy in mind. And as it turned out, they offered me the role on Broadway, and Gavin Creel, the guy they had in mind, got to take over from me in London, and he's still there now.
My take on it is this, that the accent is very important to this. Yours is a character role, and when I saw you do it the first time, I'll be honest with you, I've never seen anybody since do it better, because you seem to love the role, you seem to enjoy the role, and you do it with such conviction. There was no question they were going to bring you over. I would have been amazed to see anybody better.
Well, the reason I've been now doing this show for 3 years, playing the same role, is because the way they've written Bert for the stage, I just get to do my best in every genre of, I get to dance up a storm, I get to sing those famous songs, and I get to act in scenes, whether I'm being the narrator and really out there being big and talking to the audience and being the narrator that's pushing the story along, or the scenes with Michael and Jane when I'm trying to cheer them up, or when the lovely scene in Act 2 that I have with George Banks when he's rediscovering his youth, and the special gingerbread stars that were hid in the vase. It's all plot line that you don't need to know now. But those scenes are just so nice and meaty to get your teeth into every night. And I would be a fool to ever walk away from this job without something. Well, I don't know if I'll ever find something of equal quality. And that's the reason why I've been doing it for 3 years and still loving it every night. And coming to Broadway, I mean, every West End actor, every actor in England, I'm sure, has got a bit of a dream to be able to come across the pond and perform on Broadway. And the fact that it's on 42nd Street, it couldn't be in a better theatre, in a better city. It's just, I'm having a time of my life, I really am.
I don't know what the deal is with Broadway to the West End. A lot of people say that the work ethic is harder here. They work their stars harder. They've certainly got more people to choose from. They've got 300 million. We've only got 60. So it's no wonder that they have a greater choice of the stars that they choose. If you're better than the West End and good enough to be on Broadway and in a leading role, there's no greater compliment. That surely is everything that you dream of when you go into the business.
I don't necessarily think that Broadway isn't more talented than the West End, but as you say, there's just more of them. So if we've got 10 people in London that could ever play Mary Poppins brilliantly, America's got 100 people that can't play it better than we can in London, but there's 100 of them. So there's always so much choice here, and it's so much harder to get a job. That's why, being able to come over here with this fabulous part already intact in a show that, I would have bet money that it was going to be a hit on Broadway, which it certainly is. It just doesn't happen that often, and, I pinch myself every day. You
have one of the best scenes where you literally walk around the stage, the top of the stage, the size of a stage. Mm-hmm. How much at risk are you, seeing you sat there somewhat disabled? Well, no, when I first learned how to do this trick with 2 wires, attached to my hips and walking up the side of the proscenium arch, tapping across the top, singing upside down, and then walking down the other side. Of course, originally I was completely scared, and my very first rehearsals on the wires only got halfway up the wall, and I was like, no, that's enough for today. But as the years have gone on, it's really just part of the show now. It's part of my show. I don't think when I run off halfway through Step in Time and they hook me up, I'm not panicking that it's going to go wrong tonight or anything. And there's so many safety features involved, and each wire, I've been told, can take 10 times my weight. And it's all computerized. So the only thing that could go wrong is the computer could say no, and it would just stop, which it kind of did once in London. Weirdly enough, when I came to start rehearsing here with the brand new American cast, they obviously in rehearsals I just mimed the whole walk around the pros because we couldn't do it in the rehearsal room. And then when they finally got
to see me do it for the first time, they all sat out in the auditorium. They were all like, "Oh, you've changed it from London. You do it differently." And I went, "No." And then we've all seen it on YouTube. And the weird thing is, once in London, and only once in the year and 8 months that I did it, I got to the middle of the top of the stage, and the computer said no, and they had like an escape button, which what it does is it just lets the wires out slowly, and I just get lowered down to the stage again. So I came down the middle of the stage, just flew down, and I sort of span round to cover up the embarrassment, like it's all gone wrong. And that, weirdly enough, is the one that someone recorded illegally, and it's on YouTube. So all the American cast were like, "You've changed it." I went, "No, I haven't." And they went, "Look on YouTube." And I went, "I can't believe it." The one time, and that's the one that was on YouTube.
Let's talk about them bringing you here. What is the deal then? You come here and you have to stay in a hotel, or do they put you up in a place? How does it work?
Well, no, I'm also in a very lucky position that 2.5 years ago I got married, and my wife's American. So as soon as we got married, we got onto the whole green card issue and getting a visa for me to be able to work here. So when I came here, I was on a marriage visa rather than a working visa. If they brought me over just to do the show, I would have been able to do 1 year, and by now I'd be back in London. But I'm lucky that I can stay for as long as I want, so I've signed another year, as have the whole cast, which is very different compared to London. In London, I think after the first year, 22 people left the show and 22 new people came in. Whereas here, absolutely everyone stayed. There are slightly different rules with equity here, so some people can leave when they want and things like that. But it's a great feeling when we found out every single principal was staying on for another year. I mean, we're a very happy company, and hopefully that shows and goes out into the audience every night, and they walk away happy as well.
Why would you leave a show like this? There can't be many roles bigger than yours or Mary, can there?
No. As I said before, it's a part of a lifetime. It's in a show where, theatre tickets in the West End and on Broadway are so expensive that I love the fact that I'm in a show where I don't think anyone can say that wasn't worth the $110 we've just paid, because you get everything in the show, costume, set, dance routines, great performances hopefully, and so I will be sticking around with Mary Poppins. Maybe an offer will come through for me to go on the US tour, which I've toured the UK a couple of times in shows, and I must say I'm looking forward to touring the US more than I did the UK, because just to get to go and perform in LA and Chicago and Dallas and places like that. So that might be on the cards for next year, but we're all definitely going to be performing on 42nd Street at least till next autumn.
Is there any greater thrill than getting off the subway or coming in a cab and seeing your face on a massive billboard, or turning the TV on and seeing the advert and you're on it?
Yeah, the biggest thrill for me was first day of rehearsals, because me and my wife are living way up at 181st Street, which is about, it's still on the Manhattan Island, but from the theatre and from the rehearsal room, it's maybe 5 or 6 miles. So I get the subway every day, or I get a cab home. But the first day in rehearsals, I got out of the subway, off the A train at 42nd Street, and I walked up 42nd Street to the rehearsal room, which happened to be opposite the New Amsterdam Theatre. And the lights of 42nd, I mean, for anyone who hasn't been to 42nd Street, it's like a extension of Times Square. It's just lights, neon, signs flashing, and it is so Broadway, New York. Every movie you've ever seen that's got New York in it, there's these lights, and my heart was beating, and I was just so excited. And then the weird thing, as soon as I got into the rehearsal room, it just felt like doing exactly the same in London, putting the show on again, and the show it's changed and evolved a bit coming here, but really for me it's the same standard of show that it was in London, and but it's whenever I walk outside the theatre and see where I'm performing, that's the real buzz.
I'm not a religious man, and I don't particularly believe in any formed religion, but I do think you were put on this planet by God to do this role, because I think you'd have to be of a certain disposition to play Bert twice a day, twice a week, and 8 shows in total, because it's a jolly role, isn't it? And if you were the kind of negative, nasty person that wasn't positive, it would drive you insane.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the way I'm portraying the role of Bert on stage is he has to have bundles and bundles of energy. He's the guy that pushes the story forward. He's the guy that gets to talk to the audience, and he's the guy that's supposed to be cheering the kids up, Jane and Michael. Mary's teaching the lessons. The parents are getting on at them all the time. Bert's the light relief in a way. And I'd be lying if I said after 3 years, some days I really don't want to do the show. Because some days I'm just not in the mood, but it's my job at 8 o'clock every night or 2 o'clock on matinees to give the same performance and get the same buzz in that audience as I had on my very first night in London. And it's just about being as professional as you can. And people say, you look like you're having such a great time up there. And sometimes I want to say, I kind of hated every minute of it. I really wasn't in the mood to be Mr. Jolly Happy Chappy. But, you have to do it. It's your job.
I love coming here to New York twice a year, and I love leaving New York twice a year. I come here for a week and have the best time in the world, but I'm glad to go. It's very intense. Are you at the point now where you're taking 1 mile diversions to avoid Times Square and Broadway generally, or are you still loving the buzz of it all?
I've always said I would never want to live anywhere but London. But if I had to, the only other place would be New York. So how lucky was I? And now that I've been here a year, I have to say I don't want to live anywhere else. I absolutely love it here. I love the buzz of Midtown, Times Square. Yeah, sometimes all the tourists, in Times Square, you want to get somewhere and it's just a bloody pain, But in general, it's fantastic. What I do love about New York is you really get a feeling of the four seasons, whereas in London, you kind of think it's mostly kind of grey and cloudy, whereas here, in the winter, it's really cold, and in the summer, it's really hot, and we live with a lovely view of the Hudson River, and across the river is New Jersey, and the Palisades, which is a great big kind of national park, and now all those trees are going orange and red, and so the seasons you get in New York are a real buzz for me, having to really wrap up warm or, walk around Midtown in flip-flops. It's a real difference. And just the buzz, the fact that we can go to a diner at 4 a.m. and get food and the shops, some shops are open. It really is, it's tacky, but it's the city that never sleeps, and I get some kind of buzz out of that. I love it.
I want to talk to you about portions very finally. How are you not 48 stone?
Well, I'm skinny, Mr. Skinny Belinky anyway. But I've never been able to put on weight, which some people would say how fantastic. But sometimes you do wish you didn't have to be the skinniest. I've got stupid stalk-like legs. But it's also the show. It's the show. As I said, it's a physical show for me. I'm sweating from 8 o'clock until 11 o'clock at night. No matter how much New York food I eat, I tend to sort of stay in the same weight.
Congratulations on being you. You are remarkable. You're one of the unique performers in the world, and that's why you're here on Broadway. I said to you right in the beginning, you were one of the best people I've ever seen for that role. I am yet to see anybody do your role better, and I've seen quite a few. Congratulations, and enjoy yourself here in New York, and I hope your back gets better soon.
Yes, thank you for having me on your show again, and come back. I'm probably still going to be here another year, so come back again and see whether I'm still as chirpy.
The Alex Belfield In Conversation podcast with daisymedia.co.uk. Alex Belfield.